basketball gives you a name, a purpose, an identity, then one day it takes it all back. One day the practices stop, the games end, the crowd disappears, and eventually every athlete runs into the same question: who am I now? Even LeBron James will eventually face this, because the hardest part about leaving basketball isn't losing the game. It's losing the version of yourself that existed inside it. And even the greatest players in history eventually face this. Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, championships, fame, money, legacy. None of it changes the question, because eventually the game ends for everyone. Most athletes never think about this while they're playing, because basketball becomes routine. Wake up, school, workout, practice, games, repeat. Again, again, again. Year after year. And eventually something starts happening. Basketball stops becoming something you do. It slowly becomes who you are. You stop hearing, "What do you enjoy?" Instead you hear, "You're the basketball player. You're the scorer." People recognize you differently. People expect things from you. And eventually, you start seeing yourself that way too, without even realizing it. Identity is powerful, because identity creates meaning. It tells us where we belong. It gives us direction. It gives us confidence. And sports are incredibly good at doing that. Think about it. Basketball gives you teammates, goals, structure, competition, purpose. Every day you know exactly where you're supposed to be, exactly what you're supposed to do, exactly what you're chasing. Few things in life provide that kind of clarity, and that's why athletes become attached to it. Not just because they love basketball, because they love who they become while playing it. The discipline, the confidence, the attention, the feeling of being needed, the feeling of mattering. And over time, those feelings become difficult to separate from the game itself. People on the outside usually misunderstand this. They think, they made millions, they won championships, they should be happy. But this isn't really about the money. It's deeper than that. Because when athletes leave the game, they're not only leaving competition, they're leaving routine. They're leaving identity. They're leaving a version of themselves they've spent years building. Imagine spending 20 years becoming someone, then waking up the next morning and realizing the thing that defined you no longer exists. That's difficult for anyone. Some athletes spend their entire childhood chasing the next level. High school, college, scholarships, professional dreams. And for years, the game gives them direction. Till one day, basketball stops calling. And suddenly the thing that once gave them purpose no longer needs them anymore. Even great players struggle with this, because greatness requires obsession. And obsession usually demands sacrifice. Sacrifice of time, relationships, experiences, other parts of life. So when the game ends, some athletes realize they spent years becoming great players without learning who they were outside of basketball. And here's the dangerous part. This doesn't only happen to professional athletes. It happens to high school players, college players, youth athletes, people whose careers end much earlier, because eventually, almost everyone leaves the game. Maybe because of injuries, maybe because of graduation, maybe because life changes, maybe because basketball simply ends. But many players aren't prepared for that moment because nobody teaches them how. Nobody teaches athletes how to separate performance from identity. Nobody teaches athletes how to build themselves beyond the scoreboard. So when the game ends, some people feel lost. Not because they miss basketball, because they miss themselves. Some athletes handle this transition differently. Not because they love basketball less, because they built lives bigger than basketball. They developed interests, relationships, passions, skills, purpose beyond the court. They understood something important. Basketball was part of who they were, not all of who they were. And that changes everything. Because when the game eventually disappears, they still know who they are. They still know what matters. They still have direction. The solution isn't caring less about basketball. That's not the answer. Play hard, compete hard, love the game, chase greatness, but don't disappear inside it. Develop other parts of yourself too. Learn things, build relationships, explore interests, become more than one thing. Because eventually, the final buzzer comes for everyone. And if basketball is the only thing holding your identity together, walking away becomes terrifying. Basketball was never supposed to be your entire story. It was supposed to be a chapter, a meaningful chapter, a powerful chapter. Maybe even the chapter that changed your life. But not the whole book. Because one day, the games end. The lights turn off. The gym becomes quiet. And eventually the question returns. Who are you now? The players who transition best aren't always the most talented. They're usually the ones who understood something earlier than everyone else. Basketball was part of their story. It was never supposed to become their entire identity. If you enjoy basketball psychology documentaries focused on pressure, confidence, mindset, and the mental side of performance, subscribe to The Hidden Game.